Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radio Entrepreneurs. I am your host today, Phil Sharkey. Looking forward to speaking with my guest, which is Clyde Christian Anderson of GrowthFactor. Clyde, appreciate you taking the time. I read your bio a little bit, found it very interesting. So please tell me about yourself. Tell me about your company, which is GrowthFactor.
Yeah, perfect. Look, thanks for having me on, having this conversation. We do retail site selection. So where should I put my next store? Helping answer that question for retailers, but also restaurants, banks, hospitals, anyone with a storefront. I grew up in retail, and so when I made the decision to start a business, I knew I wanted to do something that was aligned with at least that industry.
Sure.
I specifically had worked in real estate and site selection for a summer, and so I always thought it was kind of fascinating how retailers would open a store and not quite know why it might be 50% over, or under budget, and also how important where they were putting a store was. And so as we kind of started this venture and we were working on a few different things, I just kept being more and more titillated by this problem and wanting to dive into it. And right now we serve uh, less than 10 customers, but mostly retailers across the Southeast, going all the way from banks to retail to restaurants and kind of everything in there.
So, Clyde, how do they reach you as far as they have this idea to start their own business, their entrepreneurship? Is this something you come on board initially with them and start a planning process, or how does it work for the clients working directly with you?
You're talking about so the different customer segments, we've mostly been working, it's funny, we're working mostly with larger retailers, so 100 or more stores. But we're sort of doing a Robin Hood strategy where
Sure.
that's a great line of business and we serve our customers. We'd like to build technology that really, and I think we are, to help the smaller retailers.
Yeah.
And so when they're in the 3 to 5 space and they're looking to sort of get out of their own backyard, maybe into a new market, so far that's been word of mouth and they found us. And eventually we want to be just kind of going a little bit more local so that people know about us. The 0 to 1 space that you're talking about is trickier.
Right.
There are a few different sort of institutions that help people with their first business venture, their first store. But you're right, it's life or death when you're opening your first store where you put it. And so a part of this is that I critically want to be able to serve, we say all the time, serving small retailers, supporting small towns. And if we can do those two different things, then we will have made a positive impact on the world.
Sure, sure. And where the locations, as you mentioned, Clyde, it sounds like it's a big factor because I see the retail world. Is there any certain industry that you key on, as it could be any industry across our 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 country as far as retail, restaurants? What niche is best suited for you?
We're somewhat industry agnostic. Um, Although I will admit that there's a few industries where our software just has a few more use cases.
Yeah,
Community banks are something I'm really looking into. They have to abide by the CRA, which is a good act, and kind of having them reinvest in underserved communities. So they just have a few more questions about which markets to go in, not just for a storefront, but for marketing or for outreach. We found that our software works really well for them. We found our software can also be a little bit applied to where should I put my billboards because
right.
we have traffic and market data in there. So we kind of these aren't necessarily our best customers in the sense of, they're better than anyone else, but they are finding sort of outsized value in it if they have kind of more uses than just where to put a store.
Yeah.
Our niche so far, though, has been really just consumer retail, um, bookstores, discretionary goods, things like that. But I'm keen right now on people who have 2 or 3 different use cases and
Yeah.
outkick their value.
Yeah, we've seen it. In fact, I just had a networking meeting. You've seen the change in the topography of our country, where the malls used to be the hub, and this was at a mall restaurant, and the mall itself, you can see, it just felt like it's decaying, and there's so emptiness in the facilities. Where now it's sort of switched to an outdoor venue. There seems to be so many changes, like it's constantly evolving in the field of where to best situate yourselves as a entrepreneur, as a business owner.
You nailed it. I spent so I'm a student currently. I'm a second year at MIT Sloan, and I spent um, the 6 months before school working for my grandfather in North Alabama in a town called Florence, Alabama, which is really my hometown, my family's hometown. And it's a fantastic town, but there's just different mall spaces where, it's vacant and there's not a clear path for it getting repopulated with the right brands. And
Yeah,
on the flip side, after working with retailers, I know that their best stores consistently are in a town they didn't expect, where, there's low competition, or there's a lot of people that really wanted this brand or this type of store, or there's a lot of complementary activity. And so the problem is a few fold, but part of it is just they can't see them and they can't find them because there's not a lot of technology or help for them to go out and find and see those new markets. We've got a big emphasis in the industry on, things like foot traffic or where people existing, currently are going, which sort of lends itself towards urbanization and bigger markets. And so a goal of what we're doing, again, to support these small towns is to be able to highlight why a small town or a smaller region would work for someone's specific business that they're looking for, and not just what would work for a Walmart or a Home Depot.
exactly, exactly. So what, Clyde, what makes your business or product stand out in the market? Would you say, did you have competition in your field, or is it basically an idea that you've really come upon and is sort of striking as far as being very original?
We have plenty of competition. Now, as an entrepreneur, you sort of have this trade-off of, do I want to go into a field with no competition, but also unknown demand? Or do I want a known demand, a known budget, but also, there's several other players in here.
Yeah,
And I picked the latter because I felt after talking to a lot of retailers and working with them that they were frustrated with what they were using. Um, Most of our competition focuses on larger customers because they have dedicated real estate professionals and a budget for software.
sure.
And most of our competition doesn't focus as much on finding these niche, smaller markets. It focuses really on kind of big data points where it would probably point any retailer towards the same spot.
Yeah,
So, but we do have plenty of competition, some of it younger, some of it newer. And there are a lot of cases, look, Phil, where it actually really complements us.
yeah,
And we'll make a comment to a customer like, don't get rid of that one. That's a great piece of software. And we're not really trying to give you that data. Right now, we only look at demographic and psychographic, which are hundreds of data points, but they're really about the market. Then we look at road traffic, and then we look at positioning of other brands. So we let you
sure.
lay out your competitors, co-tenants, complements, and cornerstones, and just get a better picture for how does the world look in terms of only the brands that I care about seeing. Um, so a few powerful things, but if you think about site selection, there are so many variables. There's visibility, there's ease of access, there's weather, there's legality, a lot of things that we don't support right now. And so if they're getting other data points that are meaningful and helpful,
Right.
we pretty actively encourage them to keep using those.
Yeah, it sounds like, Clyde, those are really make or break type of decisions, and you could be a very important cog for them. So, what do you wish other business owners would understand about your business? What's the most important aspect that they should know when I'm thinking about, possibly utilizing your services? What's a key thing that you want them to know about you?
Yeah, I think, a few different things come to mind. The number one thing is that we're young, and so we're very accessible. For any of our customers, we're setting up chats where we can talk to them 24/7. We're all based in America, so we'll probably sleep at night. but generally, all we want in this world is to talk to and help our customers. Um, and then just this notion of, we need to keep hearing and forming real partnerships with our customers. And so at this stage, anyone who might be looking to hire us, we view as a partner, and we hope it's someone looking for the same thing. And we want to serve a broader purpose and help as many retailers and banks and everything as we can. But these early adopters, they're the most important person in our story.
Yeah.
And so just understanding that you're not just walking into buying a piece of software, you're walking into a lot of conversations, understanding more about what you want. And candidly, just because of my style, if we don't have it and we're not going to build it, I'll still try to go find it for you. Because I want them to open the best doors possible, and I want as many of our customers to be as good as they can be.
And Clyde, I'm glad you really mentioned that because it really speaks to myself because I've seen in the industries that I work with, especially since the COVID, it seems like the communication skills have just broken down. People want to send a text, an email. You can't get the face to face like we're having right now, a conversation on how to proceed. Just to get people on the phone is such a chore and a difficult situation. So I'm glad that that really separates you as far as your availability and responsibility to your clients, someone a point of contact to be able to discuss the issues with, you know?
Yeah, it absolutely does, and we're not going to lose that part of our culture of just being accessible and caring about our team first and how well everyone's doing in here, but really our customers right there in the same bucket of being sure that we are serving needs and we're helping them. We did just last week, myself and a co-founder, one of my co-founders, Tanner Skandarian, we went down to Alabama and Tennessee. We visited with 9 different customers face to face, and
Wow.
about half of those had never, had a software vendor face to face,
Right.
which is funny to me. But you're right. I love being face to face. I love talking on the phone. And at the end of the day, you can bring the boy out of Alabama, but it's hard to get rid of the fact that I do like to be with people, and I really value that part of the culture I grew up in, and want
Yeah.
to keep doing it.
It's great, Clyde, to see you can still put a face to a voice and a handshake and have some type of contact. So I want to remember all our guests out there. We've been speaking with Clyde Anderson. He's the CEO and founder of Growth Factor. So Clyde, tell me if our listeners were looking to get in touch with you, how would they do so? How would they go about reaching you?
You can reach me basically on any different form known to man. The easiest for anyone is to email hello@growthfactor.ai. That will go to our whole leadership team. So I'll see it as well as, everyone else on the team. You can go to my LinkedIn and DM me. I tend to read all of those. Um, and if you send me a cold email not to hello, I'll probably read it, but it might take me a few days. But generally, hitting that hello at Growth Factor is the easiest way to get in touch with us.
Sounds terrific. I want to thank you for being on the show today. Really appreciate your joining us for this interview. We look forward to maybe hearing about you in the future and having some follow-up updates if that works for you. And I also want to thank all our listeners and viewers. Please remember to follow us, Radio Entrepreneurs, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube to stay connected to the show. So we'll be back with more stories and interviews on Radio Entrepreneurs.